Hello and welcome to Super Team. Today we are discussing NFTs. Alright, all of you have heard about NFTs. All of you have one friend who's flipping NFTs and telling you that he's making money by selling art. And today we're going to discuss the top NFT projects. And with us on the panel today, we have Kash is here. Welcome, Kash. Kash is Supreme Chief at DAO, which is oxymoron in itself. We have Devaiah is here, noob in chief. Welcome, Devaiah. We have Dogecoin investor Samay and I, who's also here. And
it means John Cena, by the way, if you have not said hi to him yet.
And we have Abbas, who's also an NFT enthusiast. He's also part of Super Team DAO. Kash, you're going to tell us about the top NFT projects. These are projects that are, some of them are very well known. Some of them the audience might not know about. This is a good video for you to watch in case you've heard about these NFT projects, but you don't really know what they're about, why they're being sold for millions of dollars. Kash is going to tell us all about it today. Take it away, Kash.
So we have 8 projects to take a look at today. The first one being Cryptopunks. They're the OGs in the space, literally one of the first few NFT projects to ever get launched. They were launched in 2017. And they have this cool kind of like pixelated aesthetic based on the London punk scene. They are the bluest of the blue chips.
So you might have seen someone called, Punk 6529, and people put their which punk that they own as their identity. And CryptoPunk, I think, has become like a signaling thing, right? Like if you own a CryptoPunk, you're a whale who's been around for a long time, or you're an OG in the crypto space. That's the only way that you can afford this. You bought Ethereum at the ICO for $20, and that's how you can afford these, right? Why are you smiling? Samay, why are you smiling?
Because that was funny, you in the ICU, I'm imagining your mom is dying, you're selling her kidneys to get the...
ICU, ICO, oh my God.
Oh, I thought ICU, I thought you were like, your mom is dying because you're selling her kidneys to get this one punk.
No. ICO is called initial coin offering, right? Also known as IDO now, initial DEX offering. Yeah, it's the crypto equivalent of an IPO. Right, when it's open to the public, people can come and buy the token for whatever protocol or project that you're.
What is the utility of this? Like, how do you use CryptoPunk?
I think I have like a great example of this. Right, recently there was this guy named Richard. He had this CryptoPunk which had these 3D glasses on, but not the same kind of hair characteristic, but a different one. And he said that I would not sell this punk for any amount of price, even $1 million. I'm not going to sell this. And the founder of PoApp, it's a company that does NFTs for people for events, etc. He decided to go and put a 2,500 ETH, I think, a bid on it. I think probably even more. But what I know is in US dollar terms, it was worth $9 to $10 million. Probably the highest fiat value bid on any NFT
Hang on. That's
I'm not going to sell my Dogecoin at any price, guys. At any price. Just saying. You can make your offers.
And he did not sell it. He made a statement.
Oh, he didn't sell it?
He did not sell it, saying that I would rather stand by it because it's my brand now and I'd rather build stuff on it. So
I think what's really cool about CryptoPunks is that, like, unlike the ICO kind of craze, these were initially given out for free. Right. So the genesis is very pure. It was literally just an experiment by these guys, Larva Labs, that they wanted to do to put it out in the world. Given out for free. Now, obviously, they are very much not free, but they were the first really prime example that digital art can serve the same kind of status and signaling function that traditional art can have, right? Where look at me, look how sophisticated I am, look how cool I am, all that kind of good stuff.
I was just going to say this falls under the PFP NFT projects. You'll see the PFP projects as a very common phrase in crypto Twitter, which is some people buy an NFT and they make it their profile picture, and that kind of becomes their identity online, right? Because a lot of people in crypto, they're pseudonymous, they don't want to give out their name, so they'll be like, oh, I am punk dash number, right? I'm punk 3400 or whatever that is.
This is like, actually, how I rationalize it is like basically South Bombay property, right? Like you have a house on Marine Drive, and the only reason someone will pay 100 crores is so that it publicizes on all newspapers next day that, oh, someone paid 100 crores for this house. And just because it made news, the value goes up to 200 crores the next day.
So, you can still live in that house, right? So it's like this punk, how do you like use it? Like, for example, there are some NFT projects I'm aware of, which you can stake, you can get some funds and you can exchange them.
What is your identity worth? Can you put a price on that? Because the upside on that is infinity, right? Like the upside on our identity could be anything, right? Like
I understand.
Right now it's really big, but eventually if chess gets banned, then it's zero. So you don't know what the upside could be. A lot of questions that Samay is asking, I get that, okay, which is that I'm not a fan of pure PFP projects because the success of Cryptopunks, there was just hundreds and thousands of projects that came after that,
Punks technically right now do not have any utility as in the traditional sense. That is what Bored Ape Yacht Club has or any other NFT has. It's something called commercial and non-commercial usage. That means you can use the NFT for IP purposes, which is not possible with with Punks. It's limited to a certain amount. And that's the whole debate in the NFT space. That's why you'll see a lot of these derivatives. Derivatives are anything that is a copy or a parody of an original project, but in a slightly different way. And that gives people the rights that they want for that project.
Speaking of derivatives, there's one Desi Punks also, okay, which is they've taken the Cryptopunks project, but they've made it slightly Desi. Okay, so instead of a cigar, there's a BD. Okay, not that you can tell in 8-bit, but whatever, right?
I was just seeing it on OpenSea, this CryptoPunks. There is no floor price. Does this mean that nobody sells it now?
Punks are not listed on OpenSea. They are listed on their own private site. That's Lava Labs. That's the marketplace they use to buy and sell NFTs because they were long before everything happened.
So this is the Punks website, right? Like you see Punk 6275 is selling for 5.1 million and etc. etc.
I think the other interesting thing to put into my CryptoPunks is that they are fully on chain, which a lot of projects are not. And I think a lot of people don't understand this about NFTs is that for most NFT projects, right, the record of buying it is on chain, which is immutable and persistent and all the other good things that come when it's on chain. But the art, the actual file, the literal JPEG is still held on some centralized server, whether it's AWS or whatever. And they use a service called IPFS to kind of bring that over whenever you do the lookup on the blockchain. The punks are entirely generated on the blockchain now, right? So they are actually permanent. The literal art, the code to produce the SVG file or the JPEG file is actually encoded into the Ethereum blockchain as well. So these are literally never going anywhere. The second one here is called Ether Rocks. Arguably my favorite ever NFT project that some people have heard of, some people have not. So these are literally just rocks. This is actually clip art. The team behind this project did not even design them themselves. They just found free clip art and put it on here. There's 100 rocks only, and only 30 of the rocks were sold in the first 3 years of the project's existence.
What do you mean only? 30 rocks were sold? That's crazy.
To put that in context, the highest selling rock ever was sold for $3.8 million in October of 2021. So these have really kind of skyrocketed over time. And they, like to your previous point about utility, they have even less utility than the CryptoPunks because they don't even make sense as like a profile photo. Right?
Is this just billionaires having fun and showing a finger to all of us? Or what is this?
Some of it is that.
Yeah, I think that's actually exactly what it is, right? So like in the traditional art world, there's this idea of like sophistication is important. If I can talk about the staccato movements of Jackson Pollock's kind of drip painting style, then I seem very smart. And in crypto, what we found is that there's kind of an anti-sophistication where the dumber the meme is, the more effective the meme is, the more degen it is, right? Yeah. Like when I was telling my friends and family about NFTs back in 2020 spring or whatever it was, I would always talk about Ether Rocks because it's a great story. Right. And the meme is really just a story that you're able to tell around the project.
The meme is, I spent $2 million buying a fucking rock. Shut the fuck up. I'm that guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, how do you tell the world you have fuck you money, right? The answer is you spend $3 million on a rock. It's the easiest way to say, I have so much money that I literally don't care anymore. Even the punk, if you spend $3 million on a punk, you're like, oh, okay, maybe I buy access to a club, whatever its status. Ether Rock, no. It's just fuck you, I'm rich. That's all it is. All of this stuff is kind of a bet that like in the future, what's going to matter a lot is this idea of the metaverse, right? And then we're going to spend more time socializing and gaming and all this other kind of stuff in a persistent shared virtual world. In the metaverse, you'd be able to hang this up on your wall and people could come into your metaverse room and say, wow, what a beautiful rock. I'm sure that must have cost at least $2 million, right?
So good. One of my friends, he's bought tokens of a project called NFD, okay, which is Nasty Feisty Doge. Okay, let me explain what this is. NFD is a fractionalized token, okay, of the original picture of the Doge dog. Okay, now there were two pictures that were sold to, one went to a DAO called People Pleaser. They bought the original picture of the dog. This is another picture of the same dog where it's looking feistier, like it's growling at the owner. That's what they called it, nasty, feisty Doge. So the meme value for this is that this shows the true nature of the dog that we all love. This dog can be nice, nasty, or it can be feisty. Like, this is the original dog, but in its most pure form. This is how the NFD project, this is how they market themselves.
The next project here is called Nouns. And the Nouns is very interesting. They are a profile picture project primarily. As you can see, they have that same kind of visual aesthetic as the Cryptopunks. But what is interesting about Nouns is the way that they are released and the infrastructure around it. So Nouns are released one at a time, one per day. Every single day, there's an auction to buy the latest noun. And 90% of all of the profits from these noun sales go directly to the Nouns DAO. This is in contrast to most projects which release all 10,000 at once, right? 10,000 one day, they sell out quickly. The hype goes very high and then it goes very low. Nouns is a nice kind of steady build because every day they release just one. And buying one is really valuable because it is only the holders of these Nouns NFTs that get to govern the treasury of the Nouns DAO. The Nouns DAO has in it like literally tens of millions of dollars, or if not hundreds of millions. On average today, these nouns are selling for about $150,000. So every day, this kind of Nouns DAO is getting a new $150,000 into their treasury that the holders of the nouns get to decide where to spend. They could, in theory, give it to themselves. They can invest it in other projects. They can do things around the nouns, intellectual property, whatever they want.
Imagine if the DAO decides that we're just going to evenly split this up after, say, 200 days. So yeah, the folks who came in earlier, they probably got it at a cheaper value. So they essentially got an appreciation on what they bought. But the folks who came in last were like, I'm getting lesser than what I paid. This was kind of a bad deal. Do we know?
So basically, the person who comes in the end has the most chance of getting fucked.
No, not true. No. This is, I'm just making a joke saying that what...
No, but for real, like...
Hang on, you know what?
It's actually not a joke. It's a really insightful point, right? Because unlike every other NFT project, which in theory, the floor is zero, right? There's no reason for anyone to buy it. The nouns have a theoretical floor. It is the total number of nouns divided by, or excuse me, it's the total treasury value divided by the total number of nouns.
Yeah.
In a worst case scenario, they can just say the nouns treasury will buy the nouns from all the holders for this average price. So there's like kind of guaranteed quote unquote financial value.
I think one way to look at it is right that nouns are forever. So technically nobody is getting screwed over. Every day more nouns will be bought into auctions. People will buy it for a cheaper price or a higher price. Could be even one ETH. Could be like 90% lesser than what the current price is.
Correct.
But the DAO will still replenish its funds and people will learn and probably use it wiser the next time. So it's always going to be around. That's the pitch, I guess.
Kash, like tell me this. So when you say governance, right? Somebody can own like 8 nouns. So that person will have more say in the DAO and in the governance.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So is it like a voting that takes place on some Discord or somewhere?
Exactly right. Yep. They have a full kind of voting setup that governs how the money comes out of the treasury. So the original nounders don't control the treasury as such, right? It's anyone that owns the nouns controls the treasury.
How does that take place? I mean, somebody must start some idea, right? Like, okay, should we sell everything? Should we invest in this? Or should we buy Dogecoin? Whatever, who does that?
Yeah. So I think, again, in DAOs, the kind of nature of the beast for a lot of them is that it is by design permissionless. So once you own it, you can start a poll, you can submit a proposal, you can vote on existing proposals.
What you've asked, Samay, is a general DAO governance issue. So this is, in fact, it's an ongoing debate. A lot of people are thinking of what's the correct governance models for DAOs, what's a good reputation system, whose voice should actually matter and why, etc., etc. There was recently a whole thing with SushiSwap, and this is a whole separate video. All right, we'll get to that later.
The next one up here is the Degenerate Ape Academy. This project was the first to have $1 million sale on a network that was not Ethereum, on an alternative layer 1. So Degen Ape Academy is a Solana project. And it's useful to kind of bring up that NFTs don't have to be on Ethereum. They can be other places. So you hear people complain about gas all the time, that it costs you $150 to buy a $200 NFT. Well, that's not the way life has to be. On other chains like Solana, you might spend 2 pennies in order to buy an NFT.
Yeah, and this was like one of the first non-ETH based projects that really kind of took off, right? I remember when they launched, they gave Raj Gokul and Anatoly like their own honorary NFT, and I tried to buy one. I went on their website. You can do a bunch of stuff This is like it's like a social club where you do things together.
Kash, I have a question. Say like I buy one of the Degen apes. Can I start an animation series and animate that ape and put it in a video? Or is that a no-no? Because like I need to get permission. How does that work? Like, can I make anything out of it?
So depending on whether a project has given you commercial or non-commercial usage rights, there are projects out there that are building media and decentralized IP. So that is, you own the IP of the character that you buy. So irrespective of whether they are building an animated show or not, you can easily use it for anything, for your own personal brand, for your business, for your animated show, whatever you want to do with it. And there are some projects that they will technically augment you or help you with this. So what they'll do is they'll have their own animated show that's being built. And because you own the IP of your character, they'll pay you money for using your character. So this is real world utility. That's just like saying that, hey, I own Pikachu. And for you to be able to use it in your show with Ash, you have to pay me money to put it over there.
What happens if, like, for example, if I take a photo of this and put it as my DP on Twitter?
Nothing. People will come and tell you, kya kar raha hai? And all
It's
this.
like wearing a fake Rolex somewhere. Like
people will be very happy actually.
Yeah.
If somebody tries and fakes it, people actually get pretty happy in this space. They'll be like, oh wow, somebody's imitating us.
But they won't know that I actually own it or not, right?
They can go and check your address pretty easily. So if
Samay, we all know you don't own this, okay?
I'm just trying to understand, why is it costing so much to put a profile picture?
The meme is that, you spend $5 million, right click, save, like that's it.
There's a lot of PFPs, right? People try and scam you. So they'll put a Bored Apes PFP and they'll be like, hey, come on, DM me. I'll give you money or I'll give you something else. And they'll try and scam you. And people will go and check the address of who owns this BAYC or who owns this Bored Ape Yacht Club. And because it's the blockchain, everything is out there. People get called out and then delete their Twitter accounts. So people do get called out very often in this space.
Samay, we'll find other ways for you to get cancelled. Don't worry. It doesn't have to be this expensive way.
All right. The next project here is called Fidenza. And Fidenza is a class of project called generative art. It started by this guy named Tyler Hobbs, who had actually been working on generative art since I think like 2014, like well before crypto could support it. Generative art is where you have an algorithm that creates some kind of image, right? And no one knows in advance what exactly the image is going to look like. They are very, very expensive, as you can see. I think the highest sale is about 3.3 million. There's only 1,000 of them. They were minted for 0.17 ETH, which was, a few $100 back in the day.
And I'm assuming the meme value on this is that not a human made this, right? Like this was art that came out of the blockchain. Is that why people think this is very valuable?
Yeah, I think, when I think about generative art, I look at it as almost like a new medium, right? So you have painting, you have sculpture, you have ceramics, you have, tapestries or whatever. Generative art is an entirely different medium because as the artist, right, you are not actually creating an aesthetic object. You are just writing code. And so it's an entirely new way for people to express themselves and create outputs that no human might otherwise have made.
I love that.
So when people are buying these, do they know which one they're buying, or is it a surprise until they open it and then they see this is the one that I got?
So now these have all been minted. So when you buy it, you will see, exactly what you're going to buy. But initially you did not. You had to have a little bit of faith that the algorithm that was written was going to output something that was attractive and useful. So out of these 999 Fidenzas, some of them don't look very pleasing at all. And then some of them are lovely, right? And it's
like
just kind of luck of the draw.
Correct.
Like human beings. That's right.
Is it like a gamble, then we can say, in the early stages? And now too, it's like depending on the value, but when you're buying it earlier, it's a gamble.
So there's two ways to buy NFTs, right? The first is to buy them at what's called mint, right? Which is when they are actually generated. And when that happens, you are buying sight unseen. So it is much more of a gamble. After everything in the collection has been minted, you can buy it on the secondary markets like OpenSea or Solana Art or any of these other ones. And there you know exactly what you're going to buy. So it's much less of a gamble.
Yeah, it's like buying Tanmay Bhat NFT, okay? You could either get AIB Roast or PUBG Stream. Okay. Depends on your
this actually reminds me of back in the day, there used to be Cheetos in which you would get a random Pokemon card. You would know which one you would get.
Yeah.
And you would eat like 10,000 of them just to get 5 Ratatas. And you're like, I just need a Moltres, man.
1 minute silence for all generative art developers and artists who fucking find new ways to express themselves. And then Samay and I comes and says, it's like Cheetos. You don't know what you get.
The next project that we have here is called Decentraland. And now we're moving pretty far away from the profile picture projects that we've been talking about, right? Decentraland is a way to buy virtual real estate inside of what is effectively a video game or a kind of a virtual environment. So in the same way you buy real estate in Mumbai or wherever else, you can now buy land in Decentraland. There are a few other projects like this, Sandbox being the other big one. But basically, you buy your plot of land, and then you can build whatever you want on it. You can build a casino, you can build an art gallery, you can build a shopping mall, an underwater resort, entirely up to you. And so this is going to unlock a bunch of kind of new, interesting innovation. And again, as we move into this metaverse where more people are hanging out and doing things online, people are betting that this virtual real estate is going to be pretty useful. As the old saying goes, like, they're not making land anymore, so it's always a good investment. This kind of turns that on its head because they are making new land every day in the metaverse.
Once you get that land and let's say you build a library in it, do you actually put the PDFs of some books in it so that people can actually read and they can pay you money to enter the library? How do you actually get to capitalize that land in any other way than to sell it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So right now, the software is still relatively young, right? It was launched just in 2020, but already they have like a builder such that you can kind of create things on top of your virtual land within this kind of video game environment. And very soon, I think we'll expect to see people monetizing these. You could imagine like virtual nightclubs that you have to pay to get into, and that happens in Decentraland. Art galleries, or you could have a lottery or a casino in there and make a lot of money. Early days, but eventually you'll be able to financially benefit.
There was a Snoop Dogg who bought a lot of land, and then the land around his house became very expensive suddenly.
Yeah,
that's right.
So my first thought was like, do you get to see Snoop Dogg from that land sometimes? Or
if you just live around it, you could just get high for free. Depends on what you do.
Like currently this metaverse or all these plots and softwares, right? These are extremely heavy to run. So it's not accessible to everybody. Your system will not be able to bear a metaverse function right now. So that is the problem. But
hello. Our computer plays chess, okay? You don't know how strong PC is. On chess.com, I make it 3D model. Okay, you don't even know the processing power.
Is this land also limited?
Yes. It is. Yeah, scarce.
How much is it?
He's asking Kash like he's a broker. How much? Last rate.
I think these are plots of 1 by 1. I don't know how much exact the size is. I think 16 by 16, something of that sort. But the 1 by 1 is the metric they use. So you can buy 1 by 1, 2 by 2, and so on. And just go and buy 97 items, 97K items.
All right. So the next project is called Axie Infinity. It is what's called a play to earn game. And basically the way it works is these little guys, these little creatures are called Axies. They are like Pokemon, but on the blockchain. And they do a bunch of stuff, right? They fight, they fuck, they look cute, and you can use them in this kind of gaming environment.
I've watched Pokemon all my life. I've still not seen two Pokemon fuck, man. I've never seen that episode where Pikachu is like, I choose you.
Maybe in the version 2, I don't know. In the X-rated Axie Infinity, you're actually going to get to watch them kind of do that. But basically, you buy these like you would buy like a thoroughbred horse, right? You buy it in order to breed so that the children have even more power and they have kind of the characteristics of their two parents. This like whole genre is called play to earn, which if you haven't heard about it yet, you will next year for sure. It's going to be one of the dominant trends over the next few years. And the basic concept is simple. Play this video game and you get paid to play it. You get paid in these tokens. Those tokens have real world value, so you can exchange them for money. Usually for these Axies, right, their utility gets determined by their usefulness in battle, how good they are in bed when they're kind of creating new little Axies,
how big their dicks are. Like...
Even their dicks are an NFT. You can buy the foreskin. You can choose which dick they fuck with, depending on that the color is decided.
Which is generative dick.
But do they like, is that the purpose of these, to just create more?
It's a mixture of the two, right? So they fight against each other, and then you want to also have like new ones come out. So like in the way that like a horse might race, and then it also breeds, these guys breed as well.
Samay, if you own some of these Axies, right, you can lend them out also, and that makes passive income for you and shit.
sounds very shady.
Sounds very bad after
No, no, it's not
What are
only
you
is it
it's like
I don't think it's illegal.
so actually like that, as strange as that sounds, they've actually kind of pioneered this thing what Tanmay is talking about. It's called a scholarship, right? Where I'm like, you know, I swear this is all real. I'm like let's pretend that I was like a wealthy guy, right? So I spend $100,000 buying these little Axies, right? So for some guy in the Philippines, they can never afford any of the Axies, but if they're playing, they can still make money. Like typically a person playing Axie for about 5 or 6 hours a day can earn double the average wage in the Philippines. So you have all these kind of teenagers who are making more money than their parents playing this video game for a few hours a day. But since he can't buy them, he rents them from me. And then I kind of give it to him and maybe give him some advice on how to put together the team and so on. So there are whole DAOs that have come up, Yield Guild Games being one, where that's all people do is they offer scholarships, they give training, they lend out the Axies, and then everybody makes money. The guy in the Philippines makes money. I get money just for owning them. So these have some real financial utility as well.
So who loses money? Because someone has to lose money, right? In order to someone money.
Yes, no one is losing money in any of this, right? What's going on basically is that there are rich people who want to get involved and who have more money than time. Is if you look at something like Fortnite, which is a traditional Web2 game, right? And they generated something on the order of $6 billion in revenue, right? The way that they make all their money is people just buying virtual clothes within the game, right? It seems kind of silly, but it was a kind of a precursor to where NFTs are now. All of that $6 billion goes directly to the company that owns Fortnite. Axie is a different model. They only take something like 4.5% of all the fees that are generated in their game, and the other 95.5% goes to the actual players, right? So in that fashion, you're basically just redistributing all that money that's being spent in traditional games, and instead of one company taking it, it's decentralized and everyone can get a piece of it. So I think the kind of like last thought on this, like the kind of takeaway for people looking at NFTs, take a look at play-to-earn games and NFTs that are a part of those, because they have a potential revenue stream attached to it, right? This can actually generate money for you the longer you own it and the more that you do it.
Nice.
One very important question. Do they show us when they fuck?
All right, this is the last one here. This is one of the most famous. This is the Bored Ape Yacht Club. This is another profile picture project. This is the most famous, and arguably it has the best chance of flipping Cryptopunks to become the most valuable project, the bluest of the blue chips. As you can see, a bunch of celebrities have come to this, like Steph Curry from the Golden State Warriors, Post Malone, and many, many others. So the Bored Ape Yacht Club community is known to be the most cohesive and tight, which means that not only do they do real world meetups and maybe set up co-working spaces and whatever, but they all like each other's Twitter posts and share each other's projects and all that kind of good stuff.
7,000 crores is a lot of money to like each other's tweets, dude.
Devaiah did flip CryptoPunk recently and by a huge margin. So that happened. That was the biggest. So it's like Ethereum flipping BTC.
Bitcoin, yeah.
It's that big of a deal. That how did BYC flip CryptoPunks? So it did happen recently.
And then doing interesting experiments on top. One of the things that's kind of kept them in the conversation over time is they continue to use the base NFT, the base profile picture, to do other interesting things. Maybe about 6 months ago, they airdropped these viruses or these viral NFTs to all the holders of a Bored Ape. When you kind of combined those two NFTs, they would create a new third NFT called these mutant apes that we can see on the screen here, right? Which are somewhat grotesque, but some of them are pretty interesting as well. And so by doing that, they've created like an entirely new collection that's based on the original collection, and where the original holders are actually the ones who benefit, because they're the ones who initially get all of these mutants that they can then resell if they want to or do anything else.
Recently, there was this guy. So there are like actually 3 mega serums, right? The prime ones, very rare ones, which generate like ultra rare mutant ape yacht club NFTs. Now imagine this is all just a bunch of made up stories about what's going to be rare or not. It's just assumptions, right? There are just 2 or 3 left in this mega serum, and the highest price somebody paid for this serum was around $5 to $7 million just to buy the serum, then plus the ape, combine them, and then make a mutant out of those.
Can you buy like 2 of these apes and then put semen? You can't do that in this.
The apes do not fuck each other, if that's what you're trying to get to. These guys, unfortunately, so you're
They're
no
not
longer
that
interested.
bored. Also.
Then
Okay.
I'm out. Then I'm out.
On that note, thank you very much for watching. Do hit a like and let us know what NFT projects that we missed that you guys think we should have covered in the comment section. Thank you very much, Devaiah, Abbas, Samay, and Kash. I will see you next time.